Chapter 7, Episode 34. Lunch with Orest. After the meeting with the guildmasters, I had returned to the security company and found Orest, the slave trader, waiting for me. Then he asked me to join him for lunch, and now, after a carriage ride together, I stood in front of a very familiar restaurant. Though I'd barely had more than a few snacks, so at least I had an alibi for allowing him to drag me here. Let's go right in. I have a reservation. You reserved a table and didn't even ask me? I could have refused, you know. But you didn't, did you? No harm done. That wasn't what I meant, but I supposed it was all moot by now anyway. Still, of all places, it just had to be here. Welcome back, Sir Moulton. Your table is ready for you. The doorman bowed gracefully, opening the door for us. Orest led the way inside, apparently familiar with the interior. I followed behind him, acknowledging the doorman on the way in. The restaurant was adorned with a high-end carpet and decoration that distinguished itself from the tacky, new-money look made by a mere mishmash of expensive items. The decor was refined and tasteful, maintaining a relaxing atmosphere for dining, which I had expected considering we were standing in the most expensive restaurant in Gimel, one that even I had heard of. I had tailored a suit for myself before, so I was thankfully able to meet the dress code. Right this way. Before I knew it, Orest had exchanged a few words with the owner of the restaurant, and we were being shown to a secluded room in the back of the restaurant. Do please enjoy yourselves. The owner left after briefly explaining how to order food and call for service, which finally gave me some breathing room. Orest noticed my unease. Did I pull you out of your element? I'm just not used to this. I never come to fancy establishments like this. Oh, I dare say you didn't let it show. Pure bravado. I didn't want to make a fool of myself. I took a sip from a glass of water that had already been left on the table for me. So, care to tell me why exactly you invited me to lunch? To touch base. I haven't seen you since that time you came to my shop in Ghana. You came all the way to Gimel for that? There's a regular conference in Gimel, and I try not to miss that if I can help it. A conference? I think I've heard about it from Serge Glasella, the guildmaster, and Pioro from the Sionji company, if memory serves. So you do know of it? I believe those three also try to attend if their schedule permits. It's a conference for established current or former business owners to congregate and share ideas or propose joint ventures. Sounds like it's a big deal. Everyone there is a seasoned veteran of their trade. I merely inherited my seat from my father, so every conference is quite a learning experience for me. Would you like to attend? If you're interested, that is. Me? Oh, no, I couldn't. That sounds way out of my league. It's not like there are hard and fast criteria. Anyone can attend if invited by a member. Whether or not the other members condone that may be another story. Wasn't that the important part? You know many of the members, and I think you'd get along just fine with those you'd be meeting for the first time. You know the owner of this place, for example. I had some good luck. A short while back, I struck a small deal with the owner, so we were acquainted with each other. I explained as much to Orest. How wonderful. He's infamous for his tough judgment of business partners. He never would have agreed to a deal without considering you worthy. Really? Now that was a memo I didn't get. I did hear later that the owner, who also owned the expensive inn that I had stayed in on my first night in Gimel with the Duke's family, had recognized me as the kid who tagged along with them. I wasn't sure that the owner's decision was strictly based on our terms, but I was confident enough that our deal was mutually beneficial. May I ask what sort of deal it is? Orest inquired. Yeah, I don't see an issue with telling you, since this isn't the only establishment I've struck a deal like this with. But it's to do with processing trash. Wouldn't it be against etiquette to discuss such an unhygienic topic here? It's a private room, and I certainly don't mind. I'm interested in your venture, Ryoma. There was no problem, then. And of course, he already knew about the trash plant. He hadn't changed one bit. I buy the food they would otherwise discard. Most foods have an expiration date, and once it goes bad, no one can eat it. However, there are some noticeable changes that are harmless, such as discoloration due to oxidation, or you being able to cut off the damaged part. That being said, not many establishments would want to serve food like that, especially swankier places like this one. True. I buy foods that they would otherwise have to discard at a large markdown. Out of sanitation concerns and respect for the restaurants, I promise not to resell or give away any food or dishes made from them. For restaurants, having to throw away food was a pure loss. With me stepping in to buy them, the restaurant's financial hurt was at least mitigated. My benefit was that I could obtain foods nearing their expiration for dirt cheap. I used the food I buy to feed my familiar slimes and goblins, as well as to research preserves. That's more of a hobby, though. I also built a dedicated warehouse next to the trash plant that holds these foods. This deal didn't net me a profit but greatly reduced the food budget for my many familiars. Some were rotten or moldy and therefore inedible, but it seemed like a waste to not try to salvage what was usable. Even in Japan, this used to be something every household did when I was growing up, but some of my subordinates looked at me like I was crazy over it. One of the younger ones once told me with a rather straight face that this isn't wartime. Maybe I was just a gigantic cheapskate. Wait, what the hell am I doing thinking about this at an expensive restaurant? A rush of embarrassment came over me. At that moment, servers entered with our food, as if they had been waiting for the perfect time. They brought in a cart of dishes, which they swiftly transferred to our table. I had expected to be served in courses just because they were a fancy restaurant, but apparently not this time. Still, our table now hosted a few different appetizers in small portions and presented beautifully, a salad with fresh vegetables not obtainable to most, a rare mushroom soup, the steak entree. Every dish exuded decadence. As soon as the dishes were placed on our table, the server swiftly exited. This restaurant is frequented by people of considerable status. Private rooms are used for business meetings, both legitimate and not, so the staff are very considerate. I see. That's why they simply set the table with our food and left. Wait, did he just read my mind? It's only written all over your face. Anyway, let's eat. Very well. I couldn't waste a meal like this. He didn't have to twist my arm about it. I started with an appetizer. How do you like it? Delicious, of course. And it's very extravagant. The ingredients of these dishes, the fresh vegetables, for example, were specially created by magic. Those were sold at market price, which was at least 10 times the price of the same vegetable when they were naturally grown and sold in season. What's truly surprising was that the upper class, who were the target market of restaurants like these, ate food like this on a daily basis. It really was delicious. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Was I able to be of assistance the other day? That's right. I need to thank you for that. A while back, I had asked for his help. Thank you for helping on such short notice. It aided greatly with the security of my and my acquaintances' shops and reduced crime levels in the city as well. That's wonderful. I was definitely surprised when you sent me a letter asking to buy a criminal slave. I'm sorry about that. The city was getting more dangerous by the day, and I felt like I had no time at all. Sorry for being so short-sighted. Oh, no. I think it was a very calculated and logical decision, hiring a criminal who has been made a slave as their sentence in order to improve security by gaining insight from a criminal's perspective. I remember how I had heard about American government institutions hiring some criminals as crime prevention advisors and thought I would give it a shot. Unfortunately, I was informed that there was legal red tape and qualifications I would have had to meet in order to purchase a criminal slave. So, Orest had interviewed one of them in my stead. The information he sent in his letter was greatly effective for me personally and for the city at large. Without them, it would have taken significantly longer to reduce the crime rate. I would very much like for you to do me favors, so please reach out to me anytime if there's anything I can help you with, Orest said, with clear matter-of-factness. So, the city has gotten safer. How have you been doing lately? I've heard you used to live in the forest. Are you adjusting to city life? What are you, my dad? Yes, I do enjoy it. My shop is doing well, and so am I, personally. Also, this may sound weird, but if it wasn't for the rise in crime in Gimel, I would not have gotten to know some people that I have. The first that came to mind was the owner of the restaurant we were in, and the tailor who had worked on my suit, with whom I had struck a deal to provide work uniforms for my security company in the trash plant. I could safely say that I had gotten closer to other acquaintances around the city, and even those delinquent adventurers in some way. Time flew by as I detailed some of those examples to Orest. Before I knew it, we were halfway done with our meal. I've been the only one talking. I'm sorry. No need to apologize. I was the one who asked. And, if you remember from when we first met, I enjoy listening to others more than talking by myself. Now that he mentioned it, there was just too much new information at the time, so this nugget must have gotten buried. Would you mind if I share something with you? He added. I would love for us to get to know each other more. Of course. I could only hope that I would be able to understand Orest better, since I was never entirely sure what went through his mind.